So I'm sitting here trying to figure out how to teach you guys about our next unit on the secrets of life and DNA and chromosomes. And I'm drinking my coffee here, and right as I was about to take a sip, a fruit fly landed in my mug, and I was very angry, but then suddenly realized that that was actually really good, because the fruit fly is one of the most important animals when it comes to genetics and when it comes to understanding the secrets of how our body works and cells, and I'm going to show you why. Alright, so here's the fruit fly, and I'm just going to use some tweezers to take him out here. He's still alive. We'll see if we can keep him alive. Don't bother. Okay, we're just going to make a wet mount of him here and see what we can see. Alright, we're going to use a stereoscopic microscope and see this guy at 20 times magnification. So let's just take a look here. Alright, so here he is. This is a Drosophila species, so it's a fruit fly species. One thing I want you to notice is, what are the colors of his eyes? So his eyes are red. So I have bluish eyes and kind of grayish bluish eyes. This bug has red eyes. Why is that biologically? Is the same reason why I have my eye color the same reason why this bug has his eye color? In order to answer that, we're gonna have to dive deeper into his cells, and I'm gonna have to kill him. All right, I'm gonna have to squash some of his cells, and the cells that I want are located inside of his salivary glands, inside of his head. All right, so I have the squashed cells of the fruit fly, and you'll notice all those little globules in the image, and those are the contents of the cell. And there's a couple cells here where the contents have unraveled a bit, and that's what I want to focus on, because therein lies the secret of the eye color, but also every other characteristic in the fruit fly. You'll notice these long, stringy substances here inside of the cells that have been strung out. That is DNA. That's a lot of that DNA scrunched up into these visible bundles of tightly wrapped DNA that we call chromosomes, okay? The DNA is kind of bundled up, almost like this yarn string is bundled up into this. This is kind of a chromosome. Each cell has 8 chromosomes, and 4 of those chromosomes came from its mother, and 4 of those chromosomes came from its biological father. Okay, so 8 chromosomes in total in each of the cells. Those chromosomes contain DNA, which contain the instructions for building proteins. So in each of the cells of this fruit fly, we see 8 bundles of DNA, or 8 chromosomes. In each of my cells, there are 46 of those bundles of DNA. And while they look really long and stringy in these ones, these are what the chromosomes in my cells look like. They're a bit shorter, but they still have those bands, and they're still those bundles of DNA. So again, what do the chromosomes inside of this fruit fly have to do with his eye color? And what do the chromosomes inside of my cells have to do with my eye color? So let's just listen to the actual scientists who studied this in the 1960s.
Lies hidden the secret which we may well call the thread of life.
Human chromosomes are too small and too numerous to be examined in detail, but the chromosomes found of all places in the salivary gland of a fruit fly are huge, as if tailor-made for scientific study. By experiment, we can prove that the units, or the genes, are actually lined up in single file along the chromosomes, and we're able to locate the exact position of hundreds of genes. Now, this black band, for example, is the location of a gene that's responsible for eye pigment. How do we know this for sure? Because in fruit flies where this segment is missing, the eyes have no pigment and appear white. Down here, we know, is a gene necessary for normal wings. Here, for body color, and so on. On this particular chromosome, we know the location of more than 100 genes.
The lineup of genes on the chromosomes of the fruit fly is as clear to the geneticist as pounds on a railroad line. In fact, he calls his diagrams of them chromosome maps. We don't have a map of the human chromosomes yet, but we know the genes are there. We know that they determine what our cells will do and what we will be like.
So that film was made in 1960. We have a map of the human genome now. We know where our genes are. And the gene for my eye color is located right here, chromosome 15. What even is a gene to begin with? And what does my gene for my eye color actually look like? Well, I know because I sent in some cells from my own salivary glands when I spit into a tube and sent it to Norway. The Norwegian laboratory was very kind to look at the chromosomes inside of my cells and then to start reading my DNA. Here is a sequence of DNA. What do you notice are the letters? G, C, T, A, T, C, A, T, C, A, T, C, A, G, 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 C, A, G, G, A, G, G, T, C, G, A, G, T. Remember, these letters stand for the bases of DNA, adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine, which spell out the whole language of life. Right here on this spot in the DNA on chromosome pair 15, I have a mutation. People who have brown eyes are going to have an A at this part in their DNA. I have a G. You have to recognize that the letters inside of a DNA code spell out the instructions to make proteins. That's one of the most important concepts in biology. Remember, proteins do a ton of things. They transport things, they're like enzymes, they store things, they communicate things. They are basically in control of all the processes happening inside of your body right now. And inside of the eyes of the fruit fly, inside of its wings, okay, inside of my eyes. Also remember that proteins are made out of amino acids, which I'm going to represent here using paper clips, okay? So basically, when I talk about DNA spelling out the code of life, what I mean is that DNA is going to give a message using all those letters to the ribosome, okay? And the ribosome is going to take in these little amino acids, okay? Now, when I have these amino acids, it's going to tell the amino acids to come together, and that ribosome is going to make this long string of amino acids that is going to fold together into this complex protein, okay? This is my protein right here. Because my DNA has a mutation on the 15th chromosome, that's going to change the way that my cell reads those instructions, which means while most people who have brown eyes are going to have an amino acid at this place in the protein, I'm going to have a different amino acid, okay, which is going to effectively change my eye color to blue. So my chromosomes have DNA recipes, and those DNA recipes tell my ribosomes how to make proteins. And what does that protein actually look like? That. This protein, also known as E3 ubiquitin lipase HERC2, is the protein that helps my cells transport melanin. Remember, melanin is a pigment, it's like this brown pigment right here. It's a chemical that basically plays around with electrons and makes the color appear brown. I'm here at a color printer, and there's all sorts of pigments that we keep here. For instance, this is the blue or the cyan pigment, and I put it inside of the printer to help make blue pictures when I print things. So just like I'm helping carry this blue pigment to this printer so that it can use it, so this protein is helping your eyes carry that melanin pigment to your eyes so that you can have brown eye color. Now, in my case, I have a mutation, so this protein's kind of broken, so it doesn't really carry brown eye color pigment to my eyes. I don't have brown eyes. I just have blue eyes. Now, the fruit fly doesn't have a gene that codes for proteins that help give it brown eyes or blue eyes. It codes for proteins that carry a pink or a red pigment inside of its eyes, which is why the fruit fly has red eyes. The gene for the protein that helps the fruit fly have red eyes is located on this chromosome. And what's weird is that all of these genes are found inside of my chromosomes, which are inside of every one of my cells, not just my eye cells.
And what we will be like.
And do I have the same genes in every cell?
In practically every cell in your body.
But what's the use of having a blue eye gene in my big toe?
Nobody knows. And wouldn't scientists like to think up an experiment that would answer that question?
Well, then where do I get my genes in the first place?
From your father and mother, of course. The idea is this. Your heredity comes to you in two bundles. The sperm cell from your father with its 23 chromosomes, and the egg from your mother with another 23.
But I thought you just told us that a human cell has 46 chromosomes.
That's right, with the one exception of egg and sperm cells. You see, nature's arithmetic has to come out right. So, you get 23 chromosomes from your mother and 23 from your father. Each parent contributes only half. And in this way, you get the normal number of 46 chromosomes in the fertilized egg from which you grow.
So I've been searching the archives of our various microscope slides that we have here. A lot of these have been here for who knows how long, but I found a very interesting slide. Most human cells have 46 chromosomes. I'm looking at cells, human cells, that don't. This is kind of weird, but I just found human sperm cells in the cabinet. These cells have 23 chromosomes in them, not 46. And so all of those genes in that gene library is organized into 23 of those little bundles. And that's because these sperm cells are meant to pair up to a female egg cell that also contains 23, which is going to form a new human organism, which is going to contain, again, 46 chromosomes. To put all of these thoughts together, we're going to imagine a library. Let's imagine that each one of these books were a chromosome. This represents the amount of chromosomes inside of the fruit fly. We've got 8 chromosomes. Now, that means that 4 of those chromosomes came from the mother fruit fly, and 4 of those chromosomes came from the father's fruit fly. The father fruit fly, okay? The sperm from the father fruit fly. Each book or each chromosome is wound up DNA, and that DNA contains recipes. We call those genes, okay? It's inside of the nucleus, which, remember, we call the nucleus the library. And each one of those recipes tells the ribosome how to make proteins. Proteins do everything, including carrying pigment for your eyes, which is why we can say that DNA is coding for things like eye color. Now, a fruit fly might have 8 bundles of those recipes, but humans have more. In every human cell, we've got 46 chromosomes. 23 from the father's sperm, and 23 from the mother's egg. On the 15th chromosome, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, okay, there is a gene that codes for eye color, okay? Now, maybe your biological father gave you a blue-eyed gene, and your biological mother on the 15th chromosome that she gave you a brown-eyed gene. We'll study that in another unit, how your cells decide which one to read. But for now, just know, genes code for proteins. They're found inside of the library or the nucleus, and they're wrapped up in these chromosomes that are just in different numbers in different species. And that's how we can connect fruit fly eye color to chromosomes and genetics and biology and eye color, and how all of these things work together, and all of this code is the same whether you're a fly or a human or a cactus. It's pretty cool. Man, these librarians are going to hate me.